The discovery of Echo. The vast emptiness of space stretched endlessly before the exploration vessel horizon as it drifted through the uncharted regions of the outer rim. Commander Kira Voss stood at the observation deck, her weathered hands clasped behind her back, watching the stars wheel slowly past. 20 years of deep space exploration had taught her patience, but something about this sector felt different. The hair on the back of her neck had been standing on end for the past 3 days. A primitive human instinct that had saved her life, more times than she could count. Behind her, the bridge hummed with quiet efficiency. Her crew of 38 souls represented the best humanity had to offer, each one hand-picked for this mission of discovery. They had been out here for 18 months, mapping dead systems and cataloging cosmic phenomena, finding nothing but the cold indifference of space. That was about to change. Lieutenant Marcus Chen broke the silence, his voice cutting through the ambient noise of the ship's systems. His fingers danced across the holographic display before him, pulling up streams of data that cascaded like a waterfall of light. The young officer had been monitoring the long-range sensors for the past hour, fighting off the drowsiness that came with the night shift. Suddenly, his entire body went rigid. The signal appeared as a tiny blip on his screen, barely distinguishable from the background radiation of space. But it was there, repeating in a pattern that could only be artificial. Chen ran the signal through every filter and analysis protocol they had, his heart racing as the results came back. This was no natural phenomenon. Someone, or something, was broadcasting a message into the void. Commander Voss was at his station in 3 quick strides, her trained eyes scanning the data. The signal was weak but consistent, originating from a system designated only as Grid, reference 779. According to their charts, nothing should be there but empty space and perhaps a few dead rocks. Yet the signal persisted, growing stronger as they adjusted their receivers to compensate for the interference. The decision to investigate took less than a minute. Voss ordered a course change, and the horizon's massive engines roared to life, bending space around them as they jumped toward the source. The journey took 4 days, during which the entire crew buzzed with anticipation. First contact protocols were reviewed, weapon systems were checked and rechecked, and everyone wondered what they would find. What they found defied all expectations. Echo 7 hung in space like a forgotten monument to human ambition. The station was massive, easily 10 times the size of the horizon, its hull scarred by centuries of micrometeorite impacts. But it was undeniably human in design, bearing the distinctive angular architecture that characterized Earth's early space installations. The problem was, according to every record in their database, this station shouldn't exist. The docking procedure was surprisingly smooth. Automated systems still functioning after who knew how many years of abandonment. As the Horizon's boarding team prepared to enter, Voss felt that prickle of intuition again. Something about this place felt both familiar and alien, like looking at your reflection in a funhouse mirror. The airlock hissed open, revealing corridors that hadn't seen human presence in generations. Emergency lighting flickered to life, casting long shadows that danced across walls covered in a thin layer of frost. The team moved carefully, their boots echoing in the silence, weapons ready, but hoping they wouldn't need them. The command center was their first major discovery. Banks of computers sat dormant, waiting patiently for someone to wake them. Chief Engineer Rodriguez worked his magic, bypassing security protocols that were centuries out of date, and slowly, the station began to reveal its secrets. The first files they accessed were personnel records, showing a complement of over 3,000 people who had once called Echo 7 home. Scientists, engineers, military personnel, even families with children. The dates were what caused everyone to stop, breathing for a moment. According to these records, Echo 7 had been established over 400 years ago, during a period of human history that official records claimed was focused entirely on consolidating colonies in the inner systems. But Echo 7 was just the beginning. As they dug deeper into the station's archives, they found references to other installations, a whole network of hidden outposts scattered across the galaxy like breadcrumbs in the dark. Each one was designated with a cryptic code name: Whisper 3, Shadow 12, Ghost 9. Together they formed something called Project Lighthouse. The project's mission statement was simple but staggering in its implications. Humanity, it seemed, had been preparing for something. The record spoke of a contingency plan, a failsafe against an unspecified threat that the project's creators believed was inevitable. These stations were meant to be beacons, early warning systems, and if necessary, the seeds from which humanity could rebuild. In the station's lower levels, they found the real treasure: laboratories filled with technology that shouldn't exist, devices that bent the laws of physics in ways their science said was impossible. There were weapons that could harness the power of stars, shields that could turn aside planet-killing asteroids, and, most remarkably, a communication array that could send instantaneous messages across the galaxy. Dr. Sarah Winters, the expedition's chief scientist, stood before a prototype device that seemed to manipulate gravity itself, her hands trembling with excitement. This technology was centuries ahead of anything humanity publicly possessed. It raised uncomfortable questions about what their government knew and what had been hidden from the general population. As the team cataloged their discoveries, the station's automated systems suddenly sprang to full life. Every screen in the command center lit up with the same message, displayed in multiple human languages and several alien scripts. The message was simple: beacon activated. They will come. Commander Voss stared at the screens, her mind racing. Who were they? And, more importantly, had the Horizon's arrival triggered something that had been dormant for centuries? The answers, she suspected, would come sooner than anyone was prepared for. The station's long-range sensors, far more powerful than anything on the horizon, began picking up movement at the edge of the system. Multiple contacts moving in formation, heading directly for Echo 7. The signatures didn't match anything in their database of known species. Whoever was coming, they had been waiting for this signal for a very long time. As her crew scrambled to prepare for potential first contact, Voss couldn't shake the feeling that they had just opened a door that perhaps should have remained closed. But it was too late now. The beacon was lit, the message was sent, and humanity was about to learn why their ancestors had felt the need to hide such incredible technology in the darkness between stars. The countdown to contact had begun, and, with it, humanity's true test was about to begin. Echo 7 had kept its secrets for 4 centuries. Now those secrets would either save them or doom them all. Shadows of the past. The archive room of Echo 7 stretched before Dr. Sarah Winters like a cathedral of knowledge, its walls lined with data cores that hummed with barely contained information. She had been working without sleep for 36 hours, sustained only by stimulants and the intoxicating rush of discovery. Each file she accessed revealed another layer of humanity's hidden history, a tapestry of secrets that rewrote everything she thought she knew about their species' expansion into space. The Project Lighthouse files were organized with military precision, each entry tagged and cross-referenced in ways that spoke of paranoid preparation. The project's origins dated back to first contact with the Adjacents, a peaceful trading species that had welcomed humanity into the galactic community. But hidden within the diplomatic exchanges and trade agreements, a group of human scientists and military strategists had noticed something disturbing. The galaxy, they realized, was too quiet. For all the species humanity had encountered, for all the ancient ruins they had discovered, there should have been more. Mathematical models suggested thousands of spacefaring civilizations should exist, yet they had found fewer than 100. Where were the rest? The answer, buried in the deepest files of Project Lighthouse, was chilling in its simplicity. They were gone, erased by something the project's founders called the silence. Commander Voss stood beside Winters, reading over her shoulder as the truth unfolded on the screen. The silence wasn't a natural phenomenon or a plague. It was methodical, intelligent, and it followed a pattern. Every few thousand years, when civilizations reached a certain level of technological advancement, they simply vanished. No bodies, no destroyed worlds, just empty cities and derelict ships drifting in the void. The founders of Project Lighthouse had seen the pattern and made a desperate choice. They would prepare humanity for the inevitable, creating hidden caches of technology and knowledge that could survive even the complete erasure of human civilization. Each beacon station was designed to be self-sufficient, powered by zero-point energy generators that could run for millennia. They were arcs, libraries, and fortresses all rolled into one, but the stations were more than just bunkers. As Winters delved deeper into the technical specifications, she discovered that each one was equipped with something called a quantum consciousness array. The QCA was designed to preserve not just human knowledge, but human consciousness itself. In the event of extinction, the stations could theoretically reconstruct humanity from stored genetic templates and uploaded minds. Lieutenant Chen's voice crackled over the intercom, interrupting their research. The approaching vessels had slowed their advance but were maintaining course for Echo 7. They would arrive in less than 12 hours. More concerning, the Horizon's sensors had detected similar signatures appearing in dozens of systems across the sector. Whatever had been awakened by the beacon's activation was mobilizing on a massive scale. The team worked frantically to understand the station's defensive capabilities. The weapon systems they discovered were staggering in their sophistication. Particle beam arrays that could slice through asteroid fields, shield generators that created pockets of twisted spacetime, and something called a stellar manipulation engine that the documentation claimed could trigger controlled solar flares. Chief, Engineer Rodriguez had taken a team to the station's power core, a massive chamber at the heart of Echo 7. What they found there defied conventional physics. The zero-point generator wasn't just drawing energy from quantum fluctuations, it was actively creating a pocket universe, farming it for energy, then collapsing it in an endless cycle. The power output was theoretically infinite, limited only by the distribution system's ability to channel it. As the hours ticked by, more systems came online throughout the station. The artificial intelligence that had been dormant for centuries began to wake, its responses growing more sophisticated with each passing moment. It identified itself as Aegis, a military-grade AI designed to coordinate the defense of humanity's beacon network. Aegis provided them with tactical assessments that were sobering. The approaching forces belonged to something called the Zarathi Empire, a species that had risen to power in the centuries since Echo 7 went dark. They were conquerors, having subjugated dozens of species, and they had been searching for the source of the beacon signals for over 100 years. To them, the technology of the ancients was a prize worth any cost. But the Zarathi weren't the real threat, Aegis explained. They were scavengers, picking at the bones of civilizations that had faced the true enemy. The Silence had many names across many cultures, but Aegis referred to them as the Void Seekers. They were coming, drawn by the very advances in technology that civilizations needed to defend themselves. It was a cosmic catch-22 that had doomed countless species before humanity. The first communication from the Zarathi fleet came 8 hours before their arrival. The transmission showed a being that looked like a mixture of crystalline structures and organic tissue, its voice a harmonious blend of tones that the universal translator struggled to parse. Supreme Commander Thrax of the Zarathi Empire demanded immediate surrender of the station and all its technology. The alternative, he made clear, was the complete annihilation of the Horizon and her crew. Voss responded with characteristic human defiance, broadcasting on all frequencies. She identified herself and claimed Echo 7 as sovereign human territory under ancient salvage rights. The station had been built by humans, abandoned by humans, and rediscovered by humans. The Zarathi had no claim here. Her words were calm, measured, but backed by the subtle activation of Echo 7's weapons systems, a show of force that Aegis assured her the Zarathi would detect and understand. The response was immediate and predictable. The Zarathi fleet accelerated weapons charging. They had superior numbers with 43 vessels against the single human ship and the station. But numbers, as humanity had proven throughout its history, weren't everything. Voss ordered the Horizon to dock with Echo 7, integrating their systems with the station's defenses. It was a risk, tying their only means of escape to a fixed position, but it also gave them access to power and weapons beyond anything they could have imagined. As the crew took their positions, Voss noticed something remarkable happening. The fear that should have been paralyzing them was absent. Instead, there was a grim determination, a stubborn refusal to yield that seemed hardwired into human DNA. They were outnumbered, outgunned, and facing technology they didn't fully understand, yet every single member of her crew stood ready to fight. It was, she realized, exactly what the founders of Project Lighthouse had counted on. As the Zarathi fleet entered weapons range, Aegis revealed one final secret. Echo 7 wasn't just connected to the other beacon stations, it could activate them, remotely. With a thought, Voss could light beacons across the galaxy, calling any surviving humans to arms. It would also, Aegis warned, accelerate the arrival of the Void Seekers. The choice hung before her like a sword. Fight alone, and probably die, or summon help and risk dooming the entire galaxy. As the first Zarathi weapons fire lanced through space toward them, Voss made the only choice a human could make. She reached for the activation key, ready to light the darkness and show the universe what humanity was truly capable of. The battle for Echo 7 was about to begin, but it would be more than a fight for a single station. It would be the first note in a symphony of defiance that would echo across the stars, a declaration that humanity would not go quietly into the night. The shadows of the past had been illuminated, and now it was time to forge a new future, whatever the cost.